Okay, so since the third video, I've done a lot of work, but it doesn't really look like much. Um, Fixed the holes on the inside like I said I would. And there's a lot of areas where my cutting tool had hit the side of the casing there. But I'd filled that in with a JB weld, whatever I needed to do. Because when you cut into the casing a little bit, it gets really thin. And you can see there in the top corner. When the casing gets thin, the lights on the inside might actually illuminate the casing a little bit even after it's been painted, and that just wouldn't look right at all. So now that I have everything apart and sanded down and ready to go, I figured now is a good time to fill those in. There's also a couple things I wanted to mention. You're going to need a glue gun and some clear glue, and if you're going to do what I did, you're going to need some 9x11 sandpaper, or maybe smaller, of at least 400 grit. You can go finer than that if you want, but I think 400 grit's good enough for what we're going to be doing. Because something that I like to do that's not in the manual that comes with electronics is I want to make the back nice and smooth. Like you saw on the show, you didn't see any arrows or any little vents up there on the top. You know, it was just flat gray, and all the action was in the lights in the top and the front screen. Because the last thing I want to do is go to all this effort making this tricorder and have it still look like a Playmate's toy on the back. Don't want that at all. So you might have noticed that hole there. That hole there, I've drilled that out with my Dremel to the proper size to fit the charger through, so you can plug the charger in there. And this is a good spot because this shape here on the inside offers a lot of structural support. And after you fill in that groove there, that area's going to be nice and strong, so it's going to put up really easily to having the charger plugged in and out all the time, and you can get a good seal on there when you glue it in there. I've left these 3 openings here on the bottom because if you seal in everything in the tricorder, the speaker noise is going to be really muffled, so you really have to have some openings to the outside to get the best sound. You might be wondering how you're going to get into this now after I put it all together. Well, my idea is, since I have the rechargeable battery, I'm going to seal everything together at the end, because I do want to make this as much like a screen tricorder as I can. And even after everything's together and painted and that, I'm going to fill in those holes there, which I have to leave open so I can screw the door back on. But at the end, I'm going to put 1 coat of paint on there, and at the end I'm going to fill those in and sand them down, and then put the finishing coats of paint on there. So the only thing you're going to see are the 3 openings there, and the charger port in the hole there. And that's going to be it. So it's going to look as much like a tricorder from the show as I can actually make it. Now, a friend of mine gave me a good tip on how to get the holes lined up properly. He said, if you take some photocopies of the graphics and cut out the ones that are troublesome, and actually tape them onto the tricorder when you're making the cuts for the holes, you'll know exactly where the decal is going to be, so you know exactly where to make the holes for the ones that aren't really that obvious. So that's what I did, and I had a technique that I like to use where I cut out the decal larger than you really need to, but you cut out the actual hole where the light's going to be. So when you put it on and you tape it on there, all you have to do is fill in the hole with a marker, so that when you take this off, you have a nice spot there showing you where you got to cut your hole, exactly how big you got to cut your hole too. It worked out really well. It was a little bit trickier with the top holes on the top. These 4 little holes here, you don't really have much of a choice where you're putting those, because the little balls are already on the toy there. And this one here, you don't really have much of a choice either, because you're just cutting out the piece that's already there. But the other holes, like the little hole there, and these holes in the top here, I found it was best actually to hold the circuit board up to the holes and make sure that I could see the LEDs in the proper place through the holes that I made. And the holes that I made were actually smaller than the decals that go on the top, just so it looks like the lights are coming from the right places. It's going to make a big difference when you see it at the end. So yeah, like I said, make sure you got a glue gun. That one's pretty big because I got big hands. You can get a little tiny one really cheap. And make sure you got the clear glue because you can use that in any part of this project. If you have the white glue, then you're still going to have to go out and get some clear glue. You'll see why later. But you're going to need your sandpaper for sanding down the back to get that nice and flat, because you can't really do that with a Dremel. I'm going to take that sandpaper and glue it onto a piece of wood so I can get this nice and flat. You might have to sand down these edges here a little bit too on the side just to keep everything nice and even, but I checked the dimensions and the door is a little bit bigger as far as the width here, so I have some room to sand things down here and it'll still line up really good. So other than that, there's just two other things I wanted to mention. This is the piece of plastic that covers the screen. It came out of here. You want to hold on to that, maybe buff it down and get it nice and shiny and smooth because you're going to reuse that. And I noticed also the speaker that came with my kit fits nicely into the speaker holder that was already in it. So I'm going to clean this up and cut out this ring here, and a little notch for my wires, and I'm going to fix my speaker in here and seal it up good. So when I put my speaker in the tricorder, I'm going to get the best sound out of it. So a combination of this plus the little grooves in the back here is going to give it some real nice sound. So if people don't see the lights when you open it up, they'll hear it and they'll turn their heads.